The real appeal of The Wicker Man to me was it always struck me as a very kind of clairvoyant kind of film. You know, it really had, it really anticipated what happened or what was about to happen in British culture in a way that no other film I know of does, in its fascination with the kind of the barrier between civility and barbarity. And I think, you know, as the last 10 years have shown us, The Wicker Man was completely right, you know, to analyse and focus on what people's faiths would make them do, and to the extremes to which faith would drive people. I mean, faith wasn't a particularly live idea in 1972 when the film was made, but it became one. And the whole idea of the difference between urban and rural wasn't a particularly live idea between male and female, between Scotland and England, between the mainland and islands. You know, these weren't particularly current ideas that were discussed much in 1972 Britain, but they really became so as decades passed. And so The Wicker Man really had this clairvoyant quality. It was years ahead of. It told us 20 years ago what was about to happen. That this passion for the agricultural, for the real, for the authentic, for the rural. Please assume I'm doing inverted commas as I say that. It completely nailed that, identified that as a coming thing. So that was the real source of fascination for me, was this spooky otherness that the film had. And obviously, you know, that spooky otherness is very much integrated into its the film's own biography, because it just won't lie down and die. It keeps reappearing. They keep trying to cut it and bury it. And it's like Tony Schaffer says in the book, you know, it's like you know, deadheading rose bush. You know, you can cut it, but that just encourages it to grow all the more. You know, adversity, it thrives on adversity, and that was very much a great story to tell. You know, if you've got any kind of adversity, that's just fascinating. But particularly when it's vanquished so repeatedly as it has been with The Wicker Man. In the 10 years since the book was published, obviously the story kind of rumbled on and trundled on, and we saw an interesting thing happen whereby the very phrase "The Wicker Man" entered into the common language. It became a shorthand. You know, we all know what we mean when we say something's gone a bit Wicker Man. It's a kind of euphemism for it's a bit rural and it's a bit non-urban and it's a bit, Lady Havisham on a hillside. So over the 10 years since the book, like the phrase Walter Mitty or whatever, it penetrated the language, and it just became, The Wicker Man just became a thing you were aware of on an almost daily basis. You know, you saw the name mentioned in the papers on an almost daily basis. And obviously there have been developments in the story. You know, Tony Schaffer had died, Robin Hardy had pressed on with his attempt to make the sequel. There'd been talk of a musical. Obviously there'd been a Hollywood remake. It was just one of these stories that just kept rumbling. And I just think it always will, because there's something so innately fascinating about, partly about the end of the film. I mean, it's an unforgettable end, and it's always in these kind of lists of great endings. So it'll never be forgotten for that reason. But, you know, it's just had such a fascinating biography since the first book was published, since 2000. A biography almost on a par with the original biography from 1972 to 2000. So it's just one of these things that won't go away. Yeah, I mean, there's every possibility that Christopher Lee is correct and that all the missing footage is sitting somewhere in the sitting room of some Dr. No kind of figure in a gold chairs. I mean, Christopher Lee's long maintained this story, and you have to assume he knows a bit about the machinations of the film industry. So maybe he is correct. Maybe someone will turn up with, these cans of film and, Casablanca, the happy ending, all these things. But certainly, even if there isn't anything new to say, the desire to hear the old stuff seems to me to be fairly unstemmable. So I live in hope, in the same way that Lulu lives in hope that Shout can come back again.